So we've looked at simplifying expressions by collecting the like terms, by counting up all the A's, counting up all the B's, and writing a little list of the total number of A's and B's. Multiplying is a little bit different. So you know that when just looking at this question here, 7D times 9, that 7D means 7 times D, and that's times 9. And you know when you're multiplying that you can multiply numbers together in any order. 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. So we can start by multiplying 7 and 9 together, which is 63, and we can multiply that by D. Remember that we don't put the multiplication sign in. So you can simplify that as 63D. This one here, you've got 5 times A times 2 times B. So I can start with the numbers. I know 5 times 2 is 10. Let's write it actually down first, because I like you to write it down when you're doing it in your book. 5 times 2 is 10 times A times B, all as one term. Rub all that out and look at the next set of questions. Question 6. So 8AB times 3C. So I'm going to start with the numbers. All of this is going to come together as one term. 8 times 3 is 24, and it's that times A times B times C. No times signs because we don't put those in. A times A can be written as A to the power of 2. Anything times by itself is written as that number to the power of 2. So 3D times D. 3 times D times D again. The squared sign is only attached to the D. It's only D that's times by itself, not 3. If it were, 3 squared or 9, then you could write this, which would be a completely different answer. So don't do that. The squared only goes with the D. Dividing is much the same as dividing fractions. So remember we looked at prime factors. What are the factors of 5A? What things are multiplied together to get 5A? And I know that they are 5 times A. 5 is a prime number. We don't know what A is, so that's as simplified as we can get. 10A, well, 10 is, as prime factors, 2 times 5. So those are prime numbers. You multiply them together to get 10 times A. And then working with fractions, anything that is on the top and on the bottom, so A divided by A equals 1. So we just cross that off. This is all this times 1. This can be crossed off. This can be crossed off, and we're left with a 2 at the bottom of a fraction, which looks like that. So if you expand those numbers into their prime factors and then cross off anything that's on the top and on the bottom, you can simplify them. I might try this one. So we got -5, or even better, we got -1 times 5 times x. Always do your x's as little cursive x's, because then they don't look too much like the times signs. And on the bottom, we have 10, which we know is the product of 2 and 5. 2 times 5 times y times z squared. What do we see on the top and on the bottom? Just that. So to simplify it, it is minus x on the top, 2yz squared on the bottom. Right, we've just taken a factor of 5 out of the top row, and we've taken a factor of 5 out of the bottom row. This one, let's do this one. Let's make room. Minus 15z divided by minus 20z squared. So let's factorize it first. We've got minus 1 times 15 is 3 times 5 as prime factors. Those are the prime numbers that multiply to get 15. And times z. And on the bottom, we've also got minus 1. Oh, we can cancel something out. 20 is, as prime factors, is 5 times 4, so 5 times 2 times 2. And then we've got z squared there. So my z's and 2's look so much alike that you're going to get confused. But we can cross a 5 off the top and off the bottom. We can get rid of the negative 1s, so we're going to have a positive answer. And we can get rid of a z and another z. And what we're left with is a 3 on the top and 2 2's, which is 4, z on the bottom. If you're left with nothing on the top and something on the bottom, you always write it as 1 over whatever is on the bottom. If you're left with something on the top and nothing on the bottom, then it is, whatever's on the top over 1, but you don't write that, so you just leave it as whatever's on the top as your answer. But if it's on the bottom, you have to put 1 over whatever that thing is. And when I say divided by, now we don't do this anymore. We use the fraction. We use this vinculum here as our divide sign. These look a bit tricky, but you do know how to do area. So area is length times width. Remember that we always write the formula, not like what you did in your tests. Area is length times width, which is 2a times 4b. And then you simplify it. 2 times 4 is 8. A times b, we've got a and a b. Okay? And remember when you're doing, what do we call them? Composite areas. Divide it into 2 different shapes. Add area 1. So the total area is the sum of area 1 plus area 2. So for this area 1 is length times width, which is 2x times, that's that bit. This is, let's see, it's 4y plus 3y. So 2x times 7y, that's area 1. And we're going to add area 2, which is x, you can see that there, by 3y. Okay? And then you add those together. To add those together, we're going to do each bracket separately. So 2xy times 7x, 2x times 7y is 14xy plus, over here we've got 3 times x times y plus 3xy. And then we can just add them together. That's 14xy plus 3xy is 17xy. Have a go at the others. Those are a bit trickier. I'm going to have a go at these for you just in case you're doing these at home and get stuck. So 14a, we can start by writing that whole thing out, expand it all out. So we've got 2 times A times B times 3 times B times C times 4 times C times D. Now, this is not the simplified way of writing it. I just expand it out like that so we can see what all the different parts are. These are all just in prime factor form. Underneath, I'll go 4. No, I won't. I'll go 2 times 2 times A times 3 times B times C times 2 times D. Now, what can I cross off? I can cross off a 2. I can cross off an A. I can cross off a 3 and a B and a C. Oh, I wrote 4 there. That's 2 times 2. So I can cross off a 4 there and 2 2s down there and a D there and a D there. And we're left with B, C over 1. And there it is, simplified. Or we could have probably done that a little bit more easily. We could have just got rid of that, got rid of the 4s, got rid of the 2s, got rid of the A's, got rid of the D's, and you're left with a B and a C. I'll do one more. And then you can have a go on your own and ask me if you have any questions. 12 A squared B plus 4A squared B over 4B plus 2B. So I think the first thing we need to do before we can divide is simplify by collecting like terms. 12A squared B, 4A squared B, those are like terms. So we end up with 12 plus 4 is 16A squared B. 4B plus 2B is 6B. And now we can do the whole cross out the things that are in both. So I'm going to write it out in prime factor form again. 16 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times A times A. I didn't leave myself enough room. Times B. That's on the top. On the bottom, you've got 6, which is 2 times 3 times B. So we can cross off 2 and a B. And we end up with 2 times 2 times 2, that's 8. I'll put it down here, 8. And there's an A times an A, so that's A squared over 3. And you leave it like that. You don't have to do 8 divided by 3 because it's crazy numbers. We like to leave it as fractions with whole numbers. Right, that's it. It's all up to you now.